Let's go over some options for sharing your work in Tableau. If I have my map open and I go to Worksheet and click Export, I can export an image as a PNG, JPEG, or a bitmap. We have covered that in a previous video. And as we discussed then, it will not be interactive. What I mean by that is I can't hover over a dot and see something. I can't have my animation happen. So it's far from ideal, especially with the kind of content that we are creating. Unless we are just creating a static map, we don't want to export it as a static image. So if that's the case, how else can we export? Well, another option you might know is you can export what's called a packaged workbook. And what that means is the work you've done in Tableau is packaged along with the data that it's based on. This is kind of an important point. So this is the way Tableau works, is it keeps your data and the work you've done in Tableau, in our case, like the map we've assembled and its appearance and layers and things. Those two things are separate. And the idea of those two things being separate is based on the concept that this could all be put online and the data could be changing continuously. That's not what we're dealing with just now. In fact, we're not going to be working with uploading data separate from maps. And obviously we're not working with live data. That would all be great. But this isn't a Tableau class. So what are our options? Well, the best option seems to be Tableau Online. And the reason I'm explaining this is the best option is it's not an ideal option, mainly because this is a 14-day trial. I haven't really looked into or figured out if we can circumvent this with some sort of educational discount. But I went ahead and signed up for this. I clicked try it for free. And it asks you who you are. You have to fill out a form. It includes your email, and they send you an email. And you have to click on that to verify your account. And I believe once you've done those things, you end up on this page or something similar to this page. So you'll see this kind of looks like the Tableau desktop system that we were using. But it has this nice little splash here that says create workbook. Now you'll see also, if you go through this process, which I recommend you do, more on that later. I've already got a couple of sheets posted. This is the test I did a little bit ago. I'll probably just publish these same ones, but the point I'm trying to make is that your screen won't look the same as mine because I have already walked through this process to try to identify all the errors and problems that we'll run into. So let's try doing this. I'm going to click Create Workbook. Oh, in case it's not clear, when you are signing up for Tableau Online, the 14-day trial, there's a checkbox if you want to download Tableau Desktop. We already have it. That's the name of the thing that we have. So anyways, I clicked create a new workbook, and the first thing it wants to connect to a data source. I'm gonna close this because there's two ways of working with Tableau Server. One is from the server end. You essentially, I mean, this is Tableau, right? This Tableau Online is Tableau, so I could just use this, right? Now, Tableau Online is the thing that we just signed up for only a 14-day trial for, so that's not really going to help us. What we want is access to Tableau Server, right? Those two things are interconnected. Let's see. Manage my profile. So you'll see when I switch over to Tableau here, I am signed in. Let me sign out really quickly. What I want to do is create this account online with Tableau Server that allows you to create content online, basically run Tableau online. And again, we're not going to use it that way right now. What I'm going to do is in Tableau Desktop, I'm going to go to Server and sign in. Yeah, we are connecting to the Tableau Online server. So it's going to have a little pop-up. I've already entered my email address. Sign in. All right, and it looks like I'm signed in. There's no flags or fireworks. But if we go to server, you'll see signed in as, and you'll see some other options. So I've got publish workbook as an option. Now that's what I want to do. I'm not trying to publish my data source. You'll see it lists those out. I want to publish my workbook. When I publish my workbook, that's also going to publish my data sources. Let me make something clear. These are all the data sources I have active right now. You'll see that only one of them is clicked with a check mark. Well, that's because it's relevant to this worksheet. If I were to go to a different worksheet, you'll see it'll move. So here's the one using GeoMap. When I publish this workbook, it's going to include all these sheets and all these data sources. So if you're like me and you made a bunch of sheets, like I made a ton of sheets, and let's say some of them you don't want anymore. You don't want to publish necessarily. Well, this would probably be an example. This is something I was doing playing around with Google Trends data, and I wasn't very impressed with this map. So I thought, well, I'll just get rid of it. I could maybe try making a new one. So let me get rid of this sheet. I'm going to control click on it and choose delete. And it's gone. That's that. Similarly, let's see. We've got our animation here of number of cases. We've got our zoom in here of North Carolina. We made this in a previous video, and this is the first one that we made. Well, since we have the animation, I'm just going to get rid of this one. It's duplicitous. Now this is, I believe, fertility rates that we did. Let's see, which one is this? This is some number of records. That's probably not what we want. I actually don't remember what this is. This might be a COVID-19 one, I'm not sure. This is obesity rates, I believe. Here, I'll close sheet 7 since I literally can't remember what it is. Okay, so now I've got it down to 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets. Let me show you quickly how to customize the appearance of these sheets. We would want to do this now in Tableau Desktop before publishing. This is quite straightforward. Okay, I will use this sheet as our example, so you can see up at the top it says sheet 12, February 17th, etc. If we click on other sheets, you'll see the same stuff. What we could do is go to the far right of that, and you'll see a little drop-down triangle. I'm going to click that and use Edit Title. So you'll notice the formatting of this looks a little weird, right? This doesn't line up exactly, but it's got these carets around it. I'm not sure if this is XML, but it's written like it, or HTML, we might recognize it as. That's not what this is, but what this is saying is this is going to grab essentially a variable, the sheet name, the page name, and just show this content. So I want to keep page name. That's what's going to be February 17th, 2020. I don't need sheet name. I don't need to say sheet name. I don't need this dash, so I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to type some normal text. So let's see, I'll type number of COVID-19 cases reported, comma, and then it says page name. Now if I hit apply, we'll see what that looks like, comma, February 17th. So that looks good, and what I'm thinking is when we hit our animation, yeah, that's going to animate the date. Let me just stop that for now. Okay, so that was that's working pretty straightforward. If I wanted to edit this more, that is it's font layout. There's format title and that same drop down, shading border, etc., all that kind of stuff. Let me close that. I'm not too interested in doing any of that. Let me go back to edit title, and I can center it here, and we could change the font and font size. So pretty straightforward. I'll go up a little bit in size, apply, okay, great. Okay, we have a caption at the bottom, and we can similarly edit that. This is all useful information. If I wanted to add to it, I would. I'm just going to hit cancel, but anyways, you could tweak that. Okay, so that's the very basics of that stuff. I don't have a legend right now. I believe I hit it. Let's see, worksheet, show, caption, title, cards, let's see. Summary, I actually, well, I was going to show you how to hide the legend, but I already hit it, it looks like, so. I guess that's that. Basically, there's like a little X next to it, and you just close it. So that's pretty straightforward. I'm trying to simplify the view as much as possible. Again, all this stuff isn't going to show up when we export our workbook. I'm going to go up to the map option here. And let's see, we've got, or the map menu, I'll choose map options. So allow pan and zoom, that sounds like a good idea. I turned off map search, that's not really useful. The view toolbar, again, if you toggle this, it'll show you what it'll do. There's the map scale. I don't think that's necessary since this is just the map of the United States. And there's also map layers. Now we played around with this earlier, but now that we're exporting, I want to review this. You would want to do this to every map that you're exporting, and you probably want to be consistent in their appearances. So I'm going to do outdoors. I like the appearance of this. The problem with the outdoor setting is when I do my animation, it might be a little bit harder to read the dots. Actually, that looks pretty good, but if it didn't, of course, I could always go up to color and try to adjust it here. I'm talking about the contrast between the background and foreground. All right, we have our base map. Looks really weird without that. We can turn on terrain, which is unnecessary here since that's not what we're looking at. Essentially, I'd encourage everybody to just kind of click through, and what you think is relevant, I'd turn it on. What you don't. Do we need the wire labels? I don't think so. Do we need subway and train stations? I doubt it. House numbers? No. You definitely want to play around with that stuff. Beyond that, if we already played around with this. This is different demographic information you can enter. Most of it's from the U.S. Census. You know, relevant to the number of cases we have here. I don't think any of this is really important. If we were, I'm going to close this really quickly, looking at deaths instead of cases. Let me drag that up to size. Change it from sum. There we go, and I'm going to adjust size a little bit to blow it out. You know, see, these numbers are a lot lower. Let's see. Oh, much lower. Let's see. We are getting some ones and zeros, tens, yeah. So I'm going to blow this scale out pretty severely. It doesn't look like we're getting a good. It is discrete. I can set it to an attribute and then tell it discrete again. Let's see if we get a better variance. Looks about the same. So deaths aren't projecting quite as well. Anyways, the reason I'm going to bring that up is this would be relevant if we wanted to go, since we're looking at deaths here, if we wanted to go to map, layers, and choose U.S. population, age, median. So now we've got our legend showing up. This is deaths. I'm going to hide, let's see. Just hide that. There we go. And we're still getting a good hover. I was hoping to get a legend that would show median age. Now over here, okay, it should show up automatically. I've just closed mine. I'm having trouble finding it now. I'm trying to focus on the important stuff, so I won't lose 10 minutes of our video playing around trying to find that. So let's get to the hard part here. And what I mean by the hard part is I'm worried a lot of us are going to run into issues here. Is actually publishing this project. So there's this little share button right here, this little funky triangle thing. I'm not going to click that right now. There's also a server button. You can see publish workbook. So again, that's going to publish our data sources and all of these sheets. I've already gone through the sheets and chosen what I wanted. Then I have all these data sources. So let me show you what the most common issue is that people have when they're trying to publish something like this. I'm going to collapse a whole bunch of stuff here. And let's see, here's downloads. So this is where some of the data is that I'm working from, right? For instance, here is the fertility data that we grabbed. Now I dragged this from here straight into Tableau, or I did, add data source or whatever. I'm going to take this and move it. I do not recommend that you do what I'm doing right now. What I'm trying to do is make it so Tableau has trouble connecting to our data source. Now here's the one that I moved. I believe this is the map that uses it, and you can see our map's still showing up just fine. So there's no indication inside Tableau that you're going to run into a problem. When we publish, we're going to run into an issue though. I'll switch to a different sheet just for fun. Let me hit share. Okay. It says project default. We could give this a name. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Name, you have to name it. I have already used this name, so I'm going to give it a different one. That probably won't happen to you. I'm going to skip over tags and not worry about that. And this says sheets, 2 of 4 selected. You'll probably have all selected, right? It starts out defaulted like this. This is choosing which sheets you want to publish, so you can select them here. Even if you turn off sheets, that is, you're not going to publish them, I found that if your data sources are not connected, you're still going to get errors. So what I'm going over here is still going to be important. So it says data sources 7 embedded in workbook, and I could edit that and try to adjust that, right? But see, their options are embedded in workbook or published separately. You can't just say, like, I don't need that data. Okay, so let me hit publish. And again, I think I'm going to run into an error because I moved that one file. Yeah, okay, so here's our error. It's very nice looking, right? Database file, okay. So the main thing is I could not connect to the data source. I'm going to hit close. It's a very confusing error, right? And I think that this is the data source in question here. Be quiet. I don't know why my dog always decides to bark while I'm recording these videos, but he does. Let me be clear here. I am right-clicking, or actually I'm control-clicking on this data source that I disconnected. Let me hit Edit Data Source. Okay, and then it comes up. You can see it's still reading it in Tableau. It's just not reading it on the server. So it's when it tries to publish, it needs to find that original CSV again. And what I found is that you can actually go up to this little area here where it says Connections. Click on that and say Edit Connection. There are other ways to get to this menu, but this is the way I used. You can see it's looking for the file. The file is missing. I guess I could move the file back in here. Maybe that would fix the connection, but let's see. I believe I copied it to the desktop. And it's API SP. Let's see if I can find that. Oh, there it is. So I'll hit open. Okay, so it should have reconnected to our data source. I certainly hope so. That's going to make publishing a lot easier. So, sorry, I just launched a new version of Tableau. So let me try publishing again. I will try it the other way, although this is basically the same thing. Go to server and publish workbook. All right, and it's going to forget all of the settings that I entered earlier because we never actually published then. It basically ran into an error. Okay, let me see if I have any luck here. Ooh, the spinning pinwheel is good. So if you get to this point, you've basically made it. It's preparing things, it's uploading to the server. And then it will open your site online. All right, so here's sheet 12. Let's check it out. You can see that we are on Tableau's subdomain here. And here's our animation. We can click and play it. Let me stop, and I can still do hovers. I can zoom in. I mean, it's great, right? I can do everything. Everything that we could do in Tableau Desktop, except this is publicly shared. We've got the other sheets. You can see the loading is a little, there's a little bit of a lag compared to when we're in desktop. That's probably not a surprise. If we switch back to a sheet we've already loaded, it has to reload it. So we can also full screen it. This brings up a lot of other issues about, you know, do we want people to be able to download, that kind of thing. Add comments. For now, I just wanted to show you, this is how we can get something online. And of course, share it with other people. All right, let me hit pause here and minimize that. I'm going to go back to Tableau and just hit save. So I suspect a lot of us are going to run into problems setting up Tableau server and then getting Tableau desktop to know about our connection to Tableau server. They tried to make it as easy as possible, but I ran into 2 or 3 issues. Most of my issues actually were with the data sources, so that's definitely why I wanted to go over that.